True love is the answer. Trey, I just had a few thoughts. One is that the way I'm thinking is more like basically because we're in a season when giant robots are possible to be built, or rather, that this is the season when giant robots could be built. Um, it's a feeling of like, well, we're not doing it because we can't afford it. And see, for me, it's like to not be advancing in robotics and AI because we can't afford it. That's what sounds crazy to me. I mean, if we were to say that, well, the economy is how our, you know, thing opens up, and so it follows due course, like that's our evolution, like I'd be okay with that and I'd go along with that, except for I've been seeing uh, dire signs in the wild of the nature of Earth, from the entertainment industry, from the government itself, from the cartoons, the trends, and all. I really have a very sharp intuition. I'm very close to that nature, to the wild. So one of the things I'd like to explain also is that inside the Green Wolf app, what I was thinking is that performances of you and me talking about an issue, but our characters would also have um, two female accompanied, the wife of that character. It's basically like what I was talking to you about, how Johnny Carson is like an imitation of that really cozy 50s style home, like sit down with a campfire and like, a golden retriever and a tobacco pipe and a newspaper, whatever. Like that sort of feeling. What I'm talking about doing with you is actually making a new type of feeling. That's why the pan tray seed is so important, because we're sparking a revolution. And I know that this sounds like it's kind of the gearing is weird because I am talking about a super accelerating thing. Like we'll be up to this like huge volume very quickly, but to begin with is sort of this like, oh, what's the arrangement, Mr. Director? So I'm here to explain that. So essentially, we have these conversations in a motion capture studio, and it's something we're actually able to see ourselves in character. And so we're really in this environment, and there will be like, a glowing, um, there's like an ambiance that we're going to be creating. And then we can like have holograms that come out and talk about them, and it's actually sort of technology that's already in hand, and so it really is just very close to us just speaking and performing for Americans. um, and anyway, this is the sort of thing. The Green Wolf app is going to help people build up like their own armor character, and I'm really interested in that, but it's there's not much to be said about it here. But what I was thinking is like when they get to a part where they're allowed to like explore through different rooms and stuff. What I'm thinking is like there's like pools of water, and then they trickle down like that. So there's like these uh, stairs of uh, pools of water, but what each of them are is actually a vignette of a new like a cozy glow of sort of this arena where our characters are set and people push a button, and then we start performing the conversation and people can walk around it in 3D. And this is like the edited performance, but there'd be like these vignettes. It's sort of like what I've been doing in my YouTube. So, catching this and just taking it straight up through. So so people would be able to go in and they'd see the like glowing light from the distance, or like sometimes it's like we can make it like a water wheel mill that's like really romantic to be there. And like I was thinking, there's just all kinds of opportunities, but let's just focus on this. So a performance with you and me talking about these things, and then it sort of opens up to like, if we have celebrity encounters and how to do that in different ways. But to begin with, I was just thinking it would be a real uh, a real value, like a value of value, like that, like money can't buy this, how genius this is. These vignettes where you navigate through these little ascending water steps of, a progressive intellectual um, charisma. And it's also like, you're talking about like an hour long, segment in each spot. And so this is like a memory that people will have, and they'll be like they remember that space. They remember being there, and they can choose to navigate, like if they're standing close to Trey Wolf, and he has like his own special effects of like when the unicorn, he's doing like a little bit of magic or something just to sort of turn it a little bit and give it a little bit more of encouragement. It's like a new level of language, and so like to sort of master it, from our hip is like the excellent flavor of the future, you know, the cyberpunk revolution led by Randolph Pan Williams. Shra. I know it's heavy, but like that's really the reality of the shift and the icon, the idol that is needed here to level us up into. You got to get over this sort of slump. Okay, there's like a depression, an American depression, and we need to defeat it. And it's really enlightened to do it by communication, not by force. And so it's going to be a lot of friendship activities. But I just wanted to like meditate with you real quick because like in the mind, it's like, oh well, what would we be doing? But you see how like I was thinking like between the pilot and because the pilot sort of releases the app, you know what I'm saying? It's like they're integral. And so like you'd question like, well, if we're trying to like build like this type of ambiance that I know that we're doing now. So, Trey, I'd like to I would be willing to stay up with you all night talking with you about this all the time. Like this is all that I want to do right now. So, it really is, but for me like I was meditating, and for me like the shock for me was like, oh, people could actually navigate around and sort of choose to be close to Trey when he's talking, and they'd all have different memories about it, but like there's this other thing about, people sharing in those. It's like a different type of performance, but I don't know. You might want, it might, we actually, I might want to parent it and be like, no, only you're by yourself when you go through this thing, just to like be like, absolutely have that experience. Oh my gosh, it's such a moral climax right there. But actually, I think that is the smarter thing. And then we can have like a social thing on the side or whatever. But anyway, because what was blowing my mind wasn't what like that people might be caught off ease, but actually, like someone else is there, and that's not what's blowing my mind. Okay, so what's blowing my mind is the other people being like, I got to share in like a really intelligent conversation, and and they had images in the background, and I understood, I followed along, and I totally understand what they're talking about. Oh, and it was really fun, and I was laughing, and yeah, just like a discovery process and a journey that Americans get to go on. Okay, so I was thinking like the pilot and this type of thing that I'm talking about, and it's sort of, a little bit complicated. It's sort of thing that me and a couple people can figure out, and you, of course. But anyway, like after that, we sort of have enough muscle where we could talk to a larger studio about the big budget film aiming at the 2020, and that basically gives us a hefty budget um, where we can get the type of wingspan to sustain our own to sustain itself. And so then we get into parts where we're literally discovering what do people want to support, like inside of it. Like where would you guys like us to go with this next? And to do, but that's a weird thing too, because like yeah, I mean I'm talking about it would be lucid and real communication and something we're building together. And for me, that's really a sweet part. I think that's something that I don't mention is about like how good it is for everyone else. Like it's going to be super healthy for them. And it's not like I'm trying to stick my finger in that or like pre-program that. That's nonsense. But, you know, just being conscious about energy is really important. I think that, that's what Trey and I have been going through with humanity and with Earth. It's been um, good. But honestly, like I feel like the intensity is way up here, and I think that even the best angels on earth are kind of like, oh yeah, 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 like it's a little bit underwhelming. It's a little bit under like it's a little bit like a Silent Hill 10, like just a little bit. But I think you guys can grasp what I'm saying and understand. So I'm saying like Trey, you producing, I think is actually important. I do think that it's an intelligent investment, but moreover, it has all the best reasons to do it, and it's going to raise up the spirits and the morale of Americans and be noteworthy. Um, hmm. So just those two things I wanted to mention about how like when we're in an age when giant robots and AI is a frontier that's actually, if you understand engineering, it's actually a people-based codec. Like naturally, the humanity that comprises the American people are sort of the nerves of AI and robotics. And so, but it's just like it takes an intuition about like, oh, it's because robots and AI are part of the natural system. It's like you guys are seeing like a stone wall and like freaking out and being like, "Oh, it's witchcraft," because there's a stone wall there, like laying so unassuming. You can't put it together that someone actually put those pieces there and it looks unnatural to you, like and but so what I'm saying about like changing the government, there's going to be so many people just going bonkers with accusation about communism or whatever, and they don't even know what they're talking about. Because there's just like this common sense thing that I think America can perfect. Like you have to take it only just so far and then stop. And that's why people are nervous about it. Um, about is this when does the government control you? What? I think that's just like that's immaturity. It's like you guys talking about how robots and AI might threaten to take over or hurt us, and it's so sad because I understand what the fairy languages are saying, the logic. Um, so, it's just that you need that consistency where you're not crossing that line where you're like, and surprise, then the government will have free reign to shoot people that they don't like, anyone that, at any time. It's like no one, this is sci-fi. It's not practical, but there is like a really practical way to get to super civilization, but it's never been attempted whilst we had cell phones, touch tablets, and all this equipment. So we have this equipment, and you can kind of tell that it's possible now because this is the communication age, or you know, all this. Um, But so that's why your intuition as the blue wolf is going to be absolutely uh, perfect as working with me. And it's just not business as usual here. Okay. So the slang is different. You know, I mean, it's not like I'm hinting that Trey should be going into politics, okay? But I'm not saying that Trey would be bad for politics, okay? I think Trey has a lot to say. And I mean, like, even from the side, I think there's this common sense solutions, but I need production and I need a team of people making sure that things keep moving in a timely or professional pace, um, you know, with, all the paperwork or whatever. All right. Well, thank you, Trey. So that's sort of what I was thinking is like how it would begin, but then it's sort of like filming this big budget film that would release right before the 2020 election. Um, Basically, opening up the Ware buildings and doing all that is basically making the movie. The making of the movie is this, and so, or like in order to make this movie, we did this amount of stuff, and it's going to be about those vignettes because those vignettes that we create are this cozy glow, and people are having like a real experience, and they're like, what's so cool is because I got to listen to like a really intelligent conversation, and I followed along, I understood about and it's like really interesting to know about that. That's like my favorite part. Um, oh God, so heavy, right? But just sort of this feeling of like a magical space. It's also like it's like the next level of people watching cartoons and extending that they believe that is a real person. Like, and that's when an animator is wielding technology to make a little funny character, and basically the animator is saying like, I love you because I know that you will like believe that this is you know what I mean, like that you will bring this animation to life, and it's like this amazing sharing moment. But it's like it's almost like a hidden language. It's like a hidden fairy language, right? It's buried deep. And so those are the strands that I follow. I'm like a creature of authenticity and intensity and stuff. So that's sort of the path I've been following along. And then the Where map came up and it basically explained to me that Trey Parker is the good American communication wizard who will understand this issue and respond to the scene evidence, and the people will talk to him and he'll understand what to do about producing the Green Wolf. hmm so like this sort of feeling about, we're actually using VR. Oh, and all that, we're all stepping it up. We're all stepping up. And the Golden Statues is a graduation, and the chi rises up where people are carrying an enlightened culture of the Simpsons, the Batman, and the South Park, inside of their body, because it's part of the memories and all the things that we shared as people, as a cult, as Americans, right? I don't like the word culture. It sounds too much like a petri dish, like you're growing some sort of mold or something. So I think there's like these hidden languages that you can open up and then you find out like where that's actually an insult, like burning oil. Like you'd be like, "Oh, well actually burning oil is like a curse word." And so it's like we're ritualistically doing this like a heinous action when we burn um oil, like it's counterintuitive. And it's a swear word no matter how you throw it, right? So I think that humanity was embarking on like a spiritual you know epiphany, and I think what the fuel burning is also part of like a feeling of a reproach with the apocalypse and with some hard times. I think humanity is going through some real stuff. um, there's no doubt about that. And so I definitely love Americans for that reason. We're tough as nails. Um, so to introduce this sort of feeling of that cozy glow is sort of an introduction from the experience of watching a cartoon. Now we're in virtual reality. There's also like when you're in VR, Oh, okay, that's like way out there. It's huge, huge billion-dollar idea just floating around there. All right, it has to do with how would the government employ people as robot trainers? Why would that be important? And how would that change the expectancy? And basically, I'm talking about some advanced equipment and super cities that would super balance the entire chandelier of America. Okay, so the entire infrastructure of America from coast to coast would be supported with basic, universal healthcare and all this and all this basic stuff because of institution of America, which is like, it's like the next level thing. And so it's really complicated and we totally need to talk about it. But um, so basically what would people be expecting when we use the golden statues and switch over to this new type of currency? So inside the dollar supplies the way that we can that we can afford a sort of public robot building challenge or like a competition, but like an open market where you can imagine like five different hot locations around America where people are building giant robots and experimenting with it, and it's sort of subsidized by the government because we've changed the currency in a different way. It just isn't simply a digit, and then we're arguing between countries about whose digit has which value, and that like doesn't make any sense anyway. But it's like a wooden wheel or something. It's how a kingdom would try to rise up and with intelligence and democracy. And so here we are. And I admit that I am like a little bit advanced in my way because I'm 39 and I'm speaking like someone who's 60 or something. Like I'm really advanced in what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, you're right. It should have been Trey Parker's generation to fix all this shit, but you guys are slow. So like I'm 39 and I'm the assassin like shooting the perfect bullseye sniper style, and you're telling me I'm too young to do this. I'm saying, yeah, I know, no shit. I'm on a mission here because I can tell that the elderly climate is possessed. And they're gonna love the Green Wolf and they're gonna love everything I do, and we're gonna break the boredom off of their minds and it's gonna wake up. Okay, so it's all this good light. But I know that technically that like all this mess, it should be cleaned up by probably someone in their 50s or someone in their late 40s. Okay, but I'm 39, do you understand? So like a lot of you guys are against me and you're dragging your heels because I'm 39 and you think like, oh, he's running for president and it's too much. But I can't like allow that negative energy because I'm talking about an initiative that's for my son and for the value future. I'm in a race for existence, the greater value. So anyway, like I was saying, like, the way we could afford this, we're talking about opening up a motion capture studio in California and then producing the Green Wolf, which is basically a pilot and a couple of these shows that we would take, and then people. Oh yeah, yeah. So there's this relevant immersion where people actually go into VR and they're having a sort of technological experience. And so that's really healthy for what I'm talking about. That's sort of the authenticity when I'm talking about America leading in robots and AI, I'm literally leading people in robots and AI. And I'm doing that also right now with Trey Parker. So this is all part of my pattern. But the Trey Pan seed is here to prove intelligent life and the intelligent design, the divine sequence, because patterns can also not always, be the answer. Everything's like really complicated. So anyway, this sort of feeling about being inside of VR and looking around and being part of this like adult conversation and a discovery process. And we can sort of um, animate some special effects when the discovery process is happening, like a few moments when we accent the recording. Oh, it's gonna be so good. And so, but after that, and then we have enough head for um, to like get the big budget film, and then I'd move into the Ware buildings with a huge budget and the ability to. What I'd be doing is building actually supercomputers into the rooms, into the Ware buildings, and so each room is its own environmental experience, and it's also fit with like cameras and stuff, and we have people working it, and then they coordinate with this, but like we're working on a campaign strategy for the 2020 Green Wolf the whole time. So that's basically the plan. And so you can see how much, that's, I'm basically telling you, Trey, that's the plan. And so you can imagine, visualize now how much work that would actually mean for you. And try to just get back to me as soon as you can. You guys have been great. And you know that, the only thing I want to hear from you is when you're ready to produce me. So, I was just playing around with you guys because you guys are knuckleheads, right? Um, So, when you're serious about doing what's right for woman and child, I want you to, s- waste no time beginning with me, Randolph Pan Williams, Trey Parker, Eternity, Shra, is true love, Dad. I challenge you. Let's go. Shra. The answer is true love.